Astute Quotations, Part 30. Do not worry about your difficulties in mathematics. I can assure you mine are still greater. Einstein. The art of interpretation is to not play what is written. Pablo Casals, cellist, composer, conductor. The most perfect technique is that which is not noticed at all. Pablo Casals. Only the man who finds everything wrong and expects it to get worse is thought to have a clear brain. Economist John Kenneth Galbraith. People who have time on their hands will inevitably waste the time of people who have work to do. Economist Thomas Sowell. You will never understand bureaucracies until you realize that for bureaucrats, procedure is everything and outcomes are nothing. Thomas Sowell. It is the nature and advantage of strong people that they can bring out the crucial questions and form a clear opinion about them. The weak always decide between alternatives that aren't their own. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, German theologian and anti-Nazi martyr. I bet you $100 he ain't in here. Broadway producer Charles Dillingham while carrying the coffin of Harry Houdini. I don't know how many more times I can beat my face into submission. Cher. I have made a great discovery. I no longer believe in anything. French painter Georges Braque. Thanks to the oval, I have discovered the meaning of the vertical and horizontal. Georges Braque. Out of limitations, new forms emerge. Georges Braque. To define a thing is to substitute the definition for the thing itself. Georges Braque. In life, we confuse the menu for the meal itself. Werner Erhard. Measure what is measurable and make measurable what is not. Galileo. It has been my observation that most people get ahead during the time that others waste. Henry Ford. When a man gives his opinion, he's a man. When a woman gives her opinion, she's a bitch. Actress Bette Davis. Fear and love do not walk together. Lithuanian proverb. When you've finished ringing the bell, get out of the tower. Russian proverb. Kindle not a fire you can't extinguish. English proverb. If only it were as easy to banish hunger by rubbing the belly as it is to masturbate. Diogenes the Cynic, 4th century BC. Trust is good, but control is better. Vladimir Lenin. I made my own image. Then I was trapped in it. Debbie Harry of Blondie. Older women are better because they always think they might be doing it for the last time. Ian Fleming, creator of James Bond. You will be exterminated. The Daleks from Doctor Who. You cannot shake hands with a clenched fist. Gandhi. Whenever you're wrong, admit it. Whenever you're right, shut up. Poet Ogden Nash, speaking of marriage. Much truth is spoken that more may be concealed. Baron Charles Darling, British judge. If sophisticated calculations are needed to justify an action, don't do it. Management expert Robert Heller. Grief and constant anxiety kill nearly as many women as men die on the battlefield. Mary Chestnut, diarist of the Civil War era. A man is so in the way in the house. Novelist Elizabeth Gaskell, 1853. Learning from experience is a faculty almost never practiced. Historian Barbara Tuchman. War is the unfolding of miscalculations. Barbara Tuchman. The object isn't to make art. It's to be in the wonderful state which makes art inevitable. Artist Robert Henri. There are mighty few people who think what they think they think. Robert Henri. The right model for the information-based organization is not the military. It is the symphony orchestra. Management consultant Peter Drucker. Ladies never move. George Nathaniel Curzon, British statesman, reputedly telling his wife how to make whoopee. In the end, we remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Martin Luther King, Jr. The best way to solve any problem is to remove its cause. Martin Luther King. A riot is, at bottom, the language of the unheard. Martin Luther King. I have to be careful to get out of the business before I become the grotesque caricature of a hatchet-faced woman with big knockers. Actress Jamie Lee Curtis. A thing well said will be witty in all languages. John Dryden. A hidden connection is stronger than an obvious one. Heraclitus. The universe is not obligated to be in perfect harmony with human ambition. Astronomer Carl Sagan. You repair a fracture with delicacy. Egyptian proverb. Greedy people have long arms. Scottish proverb. Foxes are caught by other foxes. Finnish proverb. I just look for what needs to be done. After all, that's how the universe designs itself. Buckminster Fuller. Anger makes dull men witty, but it keeps them poor. Queen Elizabeth I. Notice who's in the locker room after you lose, not after you win. Boxing coach Angelo Dundee. It's technique, not strength. Angelo Dundee. To love is to find pleasure in the perfection of another. German philosopher Gottfried Leibniz. Your legacy should be that you made it better than it was when you got it. Auto executive Lee Iacocca. A filmmaker isn't supposed to say things, he's supposed to show them. Alfred Hitchcock. Most work that is finally successful is the result of a series of unsuccessful tests in which difficulties are gradually eliminated. Robert Goddard, rocket scientist. Tact is the knack of making a point without making an enemy. Sir Isaac Newton. Accounting is a malicious extension of the banking conspiracy. Attributed to Henry Ford. After the war, meaning World War II, German entertainment was destroyed. The German people were robbed of their culture, putting an American spin on things. Ralph Hooder, of the pioneering electronic group Kraftwerk. When business is bad, always start weeding out at the top. Graham Day, British-Canadian business executive. I believe there is an unseen world all around us. Novelist Stephen King. Young men make great mistakes in life. For one, they idealize love too much. Scholar Benjamin Jowett, 1817 to 1893. The primary purpose of the media is to sell us shit. Abby Hoffman, political activist, 1969. Take eloquence and wring its neck. French poet Paul Verlaine. Men have always detested women's gossip because they suspect the truth. Their measurements are being taken and compared. Erica Jong. There's nothing wrong with my tits, but I don't go around throwing them in people's faces. Actress Joan Crawford. An envious heart makes a treacherous ear. Novelist Zora Neale Hurston. Love makes your soul crawl out from its hiding place. Zora Neale Hurston, author of Their Eyes Were Watching God. If you want to get rid of a friend, lend him some money. Russian proverb. It's no use hiding from a friend what is known to an enemy. Danish proverb. Don't rejoice over your first gain. Russian proverb. A good memory is one trained to forget the trivial. Clifton Fademan, American writer, 1904 to 99. Never mind about my soul, just make sure you get my tie right. James Joyce, to the painter of his portrait. The sum of all technical knowledge cannot make a master bridge player. Ellie Culbertson, bridge expert. Insanity is often the logic of an accurate mind overtaxed. Oliver Wendell Holmes, Sr. That's nice, but what's your question? Talk show host Larry King. A patronizing disposition always has its meaner side. George Eliot, pen name of Mary Ann Evans. There is a great disturbance in the force. Sir Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You guys say I love you way too much. If you say it less, she might actually believe you. Doc Love. A lover without indiscretion is no lover at all. Novelist Thomas Hardy. The quality of your attention determines the quality of other people's thinking. Motivational author Nancy Klein. I was ready to love the whole world, but no one understood me, so I learned to hate. Russian poet Mikhail Lermontov. If your hunch proves a good one, you were inspired. If it proves bad, you are guilty of yielding to thoughtless impulse. Beryl Markham, pioneering female aviator. The way to find a needle in a haystack is to sit down. Beryl Markham. The supreme paradox of all thought is the attempt to discover something that thought cannot think. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard. The boys got a lot to learn, and I've got a lot to teach. Actress Barbara Stanwyck. If there's anything I hate more than not being taken seriously, it's being taken too seriously. Filmmaker Billy Wilder. Calumnies, meaning slander, are best answered with silence. Playwright Ben Jonson, 1572 to 1637. When you send a clerk on business to a distant province, a man of rigid morals is not your best choice. Japanese poet Saikaku Ihara, 1642 to 1693. There is always something to upset the most careful of human calculations. Saikaku Ihara. A woman's heart always has a burn mark. Louise Labbé, French poet, 1525 to 1566. Definition of politeness: the most acceptable form of hypocrisy. Ambrose Bierce, from his Devil's Dictionary, 1906. Definition of positive: mistaken at the top of one's voice. Ambrose Bierce. The early bird who catches the worm works for someone who comes in late and owns the worm farm. Crime novelist John D. MacDonald. I most carefully confined myself to facts and arranged those facts on as thin a line of connecting opinion as possible. Mary Kingsley, African explorer, 1862 to 1900. Today I dressed to meet my father's eyes. Yesterday it was for my husband's. Julia, daughter of the Roman Emperor Augustus, who noted that the dress she was wearing was more modest than the one she had on the day before. Treat me like you did the night before. From the greatest musical group that ever existed. You only get what you're big enough to take. Labor leader Jimmy Hoffa, missing since 1975. Let's get some new cliches. Movie producer Sam Goldwyn. If an injury must be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. Machiavelli. What is well done is done soon enough. Guillaume du Bartas, French poet, 1544 to 1590. We must rediscover the distinction between hope and expectation. Ivan Illich, philosopher and Catholic priest. If we understood the power of words, we would prefer silence to almost anything negative. Betty Eadie, author of Embraced by the Light. Tired people make bad decisions. Wall Street investor Richard Jenrette. Young gambler, old beggar. German proverb. Borrowed clothing doesn't fit very well. Japanese proverb. Our final set of clothing doesn't need any pockets. Italian proverb. We never communicate as effectively as we think we do. Management expert Charles Handy. My job is to create an environment that relaxes morality. Architect Robert D. Leonardo, referring to casinos. It's strange how potent cheap music is. Playwright Noel Coward. Travel lightly, and you can sing in the robber's face. Juvenal, 1st century A.D. Egotism is the anesthetic that dulls the pains of stupidity. Frank Leahy, coach for Notre Dame football in the 1940s and 50s. It's a well-known proposition that you know who's going to win a negotiation. It's he who pauses the longest. Robert Holmes a Court, Australian corporate raider. A chairman doesn't want someone under him who's a threat, so he picks someone a little less capable. Corporate raider Carl Icahn, destroyer of Trans World Airlines, or TWA. Enjoyment is not a goal. It is a feeling that accompanies important ongoing activity. Psychotherapist and social critic Paul Goodman. I follow the rules until I go against them all. Painter Helen Frankenthaler. What has been understood no longer exists. Paul Eluard, French poet. What concerns everyone can only be resolved by everyone. Friedrich Dürrenmatt, Swiss dramatist. Always mystify, mislead, and surprise the enemy. General Stonewall Jackson. The greatest power available to man is to not use it. Meister Eckhart, German mystic. Self-interest plays all sorts of roles, even that of disinterestedness. Rochefoucauld, 1613 to 1680. The greatest fault of a penetrating wit is to go beyond the mark. Rochefoucauld. Never leave well enough alone. Raymond Loewy, industrial designer. Definition of an expert: one who limits himself to his chosen mode of ignorance. Albert Hubbard, American writer, 1856 to 1915. The love we give away is the only love we keep. Albert Hubbard. The love you take is equal to the love you make. From the modern-day reincarnation of Shakespeare. The principle of the recognition of evil, under all its guises, is at the basis of the true education of man. Boris Sidis, Ukrainian-American psychologist. The ability to simplify means to eliminate the unnecessary so that the necessary may speak. Painter Hans Hofmann, 1880 to 1966. Painters must speak through paint, not through words. Hans Hofmann. The practice of putting women on pedestals died out when it was discovered we could give better orders from up there. Actress Betty Grable. A gate, once widened, stays wide. Hebrew proverb. If they won't let you in the main door, knock at the side entrance. Polish proverb. The general of the defeated army should not talk of tactics. Japanese proverb. Spunk isn't enough. You need gumption. James Agee, film critic. Doubt is the enemy of creativity. Russian actor Konstantin Stanislavski. Every person, to the extent that he is neurotic, is like an airplane directed by remote control. Karen Hornine, psychoanalyst. The aim of science is not to open the door to infinite wisdom, but to set a limit to infinite error. German dramatist Bertolt Brecht. Food comes first, then morals. Bertolt Brecht. The heresy of one age becomes the orthodoxy of the next. Helen Keller. Militarism is one of the bulwarks of capitalism. Helen Keller. Women dress alike all over the world. They dress to be annoying to other women. Elsa Schiaparelli, Italian fashion designer. When a woman smiles, so must her dress. Madeleine Vionnet, French fashion designer. I have nothing to offer anybody except my own confusion. Jack Kerouac. I'm not interested in how people move. I'm interested in what makes them move. Pina Bausch, German dancer and instructor. Strong and convincing art has never arisen from theories. German dancer Mary Wigman. A fraudulent intent, however carefully concealed at the onset, will generally, in the end, betray itself. Livy, 1st century BC. All things will be clear and distinct to the man who does not hurry. Haste is reckless and undisciplined. Livy. Dances without purpose have false starts and stops. American dancer Hanya Holm. Question from Bob Eubank, host of the TV show The Newlywed Game, from around 1970. Where is the weirdest place that you've ever gotten the urge to make whoopee? Reply from a female contestant. Probably, I would say, in the ass. He was into animal husbandry until they caught him at it. Mathematician and humorist Tom Lehrer. Murder always comes apart sooner or later, and when two are involved, usually sooner. Edward G. Robinson from the film noir classic Double Indemnity, 1944. I am the emperor, and I want dumplings. Ferdinand I of Austria, 1793 to 1875. The members of the exterminating profession had a saying, "Give us a man, and we'll make a case." Russian writer Nadezhda Mandelstam, referring to the secret police. I have seriously considered the possibility of giving up my scientific, productive effort because I know of no way to publish without letting my inventions get into the wrong hands. Mathematician Norbert Wiener. To betray, you must first belong. I never belonged. British spy Kim Philby. And now for something completely different. From Monty Python's Flying Circus. And this completes Astute